Hello everyone and welcome back to Always Watching. Today we are discussing The Last of Us episode 6, and I've come to the conclusion that Pedro Pascal was completely miscast. Explain why this man was crying about shooting innocent people and I was crying with him. The question about whether or not Joel did the right thing is almost irrelevant and should be reframed to whether or not we even care at this point. Every time Ellie spoke to Joel or questioned him or exposed him, I literally wanted to scream in her face. Every time she talked down to him, I was like, shut up. And I think Ellie is actually a lot more unlikable than she should be because Joel is a saint. And season 1 was entirely dedicated to building Joel's character. We followed him before the pandemic. We got enough of a glimpse into his life to understand why he is the way that he is. And when Ellie comes along, she feels more like an accessory to Joel than a main character. The only time we've rooted for Ellie is when she's either trying to survive or save Joel. And when you think about the only other standalone episode with Riley and Ellie, that was a spectacular episode, and that was the only episode I remember where I could see Ellie carrying the show because it gave her so much depth and so much humanity. And that Ellie that we were introduced to in season 1 is just completely gone. That episode was so important because, again, it was one of the few episodes where we actually got to focus on Ellie and got to learn a lot more about her. And that moment is totally erased when Joel kills everyone in the hospital and everything becomes about him again. I felt this episode was beautifully shot. This is one of my favorite episodes in the whole series. Purpose in the series is a bit questionable. This should have come as a much needed break. But because every episode so far outside of Joel's death has been a dud, this just feels like, I don't know, it was just nice seeing Joel again, to be honest, but how it fits into the rest of the series, It feels a bit random, and I don't think this episode had the impact it was supposed to have. Now that we're going back to Ellie and Dina, I almost wish we could have just stayed with Joel. That being said, I absolutely loved this episode. I thought it was just beautiful to look at, wonderfully acted. The chemistry between Joel and Ellie is so undeniable, and as soon as we see them together again, I feel like the show makes more sense. We get a brief glimpse into Tommy and Joel's childhood right at the start, and again, this is what I'm talking about with the show. Joel has always been the main character, and they haven't really built Ellie up to that point. This intro is really important because we come back to it at the end. And Tommy has been completely wasted this season. And Tommy's a character that the show spent a lot of time previewing and building up. And when we finally get to meet this Tommy that Joel has been running around looking for, he's nowhere to be seen. After the flashback at the start, the episode is brilliantly divided according to Ellie's birthday. Every year, Joel gifts Ellie with the most wonderful and thoughtful gifts anyone could imagine. I felt because the show spent so much time in season 1 building their bond together, this episode did have the emotional impact it was supposed to have. I don't find this episode boring. I was so invested in what they are going to do next because when they're together, there's always drama around the corner. We meet Ellie and Joel and they have this father-daughter relationship, and you get the sense that Ellie is going along with things because she doesn't want to hurt Joel's feelings. And I think this is because of his daughter. We get a lot of close-ups of the watch, and I think because he missed out on being a father, he's trying his best to almost freeze Ellie in his mind. Now, Joel's constant infantilizing of Ellie is really restricting Ellie's ability to branch out and try to look for purpose outside of their relationship. For example, he keeps blocking her attempts to be on patrol. His logic is, don't you want to be a kid? And the way he talks to Ellie, especially considering everything they've been through, they should feel more like friends and less like father-daughter, and I think that's the part that's getting Ellie. Now that they're not on the run anymore, it's not just the two of them. And so Ellie has had a lot of time to contemplate their relationship, and she's had a lot of time to think about all the people she's lost and what it all means, and she's kind of struggling to find purpose. And because it's no longer just the two of them, all these other people have infiltrated their world. And so Ellie is starting to see that life without him is possible. Every single birthday, there seems to be a bigger and bigger rift. The biggest starting when Joel surprises her and finds her with another girl. And Joel's reaction was just really funny to me because it explained why I was entirely on Joel's side. When he walks in on her, he almost feels betrayed. And he has this idea of her. He's projected so much onto her, and it's so far from the reality of who she is. Now, although Ellie's anger was sound and completely justified, I couldn't help but feel furious with her. When she told Joel this is not his house and he doesn't own anything, I honestly just wanted to slap her. I was like, listen, why are you talking to him this way? Why are you talking to your father this way? Like, you know it hurts his feelings. And I think that's the issue with Joel's character. I don't know if it's Ellie or Pedro Pascal's face, but this man can do no wrong. Like, explain why throughout the show I was so worried about his feelings, and he doesn't really have any feelings. And I think Ellie's portrayal, the other thing that's been bothering me, and you see it this episode, is she comes off as a spoiled brat and not as someone with any real compassion for him. Like, the way she's playing it, I don't feel there's any nuance. Because regardless of how she feels about Joel, this man still saved her life. The more Ellie tries to distance herself from Joel, the more Joel resists. And it gets to a point where she has to address the elephant in the room, which is what happened at the hospital. And so she writes all her questions down, hoping to have a calm conversation. But the reason she doesn't really want to ask him is because she already knows the answer. I really enjoyed the symbolism with the moth. Moths can represent like a balance between life and death, darkness and light. And this is kind of her struggle with Joel. She needs to find a way to coexist with him because cutting him off might destroy her. And the way that Joel reacted to the moth was really funny. He's like, oh yeah, like that's about growth and change. Like, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, he's so in his own world. And I do like that he constantly checks in on her and he constantly reads into everything that she's doing. But he's just so far off. The relationship between Joel and Ellie completely deteriorates when he takes her on her first patrol. It's here we learn about the mysterious Eugene and why that therapist hates him so much. During the patrol, we find out that Eugene was bitten. And Eugene's only wish was to see his wife before he turns, which at the time seems like a very reasonable ask. I mean, they had time. They could have gone back. Now, the way that Joel lied to Eugene and Ellie, like, straight up was uncalled for. Like, I love the way this man lies, but I think this episode really showed how he's too far gone. Like, he'd just be lying to lie. I knew when he told her to get those horses, he was going to kill him. Not only does he not let Eugene say goodbye, he lectures him about how you can always see your loved ones. And I was like, sir, shut up. And I think I understand where Joel is coming from, because the last image he had of his daughter is of her bleeding out in front of him. And like it or not, maybe he didn't want his wife seeing him turn. Like, imagine that being the last sort of image of your husband turning into this monster. And so maybe there was some compassion there. Or maybe this is just me looking for compassion when he was just like, I don't want to take the risk. Now, I think if Joel shot Eugene and just told Ellie, she would have been fine with it. But the way he looked at her and just lied, and he lies like nothing, like it's just effortless. That was the point. That was her breaking point. Not only does he lie, he kind of turns to her and says, listen, you already know what it is. You're gonna have to cover for me. Like, he kind of assumes her loyalty in such a way. Like, he doesn't even ask, he just instructs. And I think it's at this point she wonders, she's starting to rethink her relationship with him, and she sees a version of him, like we all do, as this man who means well. And now she's wondering if that's really the case. And it's his dishonesty that triggers the outburst. When they get back, Joel starts lying through his teeth. And the way he lies, you could tell he was just making stuff up on the spot. And the way we were watching it, I was just like, I know you're lying, but I don't know if I care. And I think Ellie's delivery in this scene, again, there's what you do and how you do it. You just kind of wanted to slap her. It was so annoying. And I don't know, again, if it's the way the character is being played. Ellie had every right to snitch on him. To be clear, what he did was messed up. Not because he shot Eugene, but because he just lied. It's like, why you gotta lie like that? But the way she kind of called him out, I was like, chill. Like, he does not deserve that anger. And I feel like with Joel's character, we're at the point where he could just kind of go on a killing spree and we would kind of hear him out. Everything comes full circle at this New Year's party. And we get to see his perspective. And poor Joel, he's sitting there looking out for her. And he can't stop looking. And some part of you watching is like, oh, he still loves her. And then some other part of you is like, well, you shouldn't have lied to her. This is the scene where he pushes Seth in an attempt to, I guess, save Ellie's honor, and she kind of goes off on him. And again, her line delivery, I'm like, I think the contrast between them is actually just way too much, because one is just on such a pedestal and one is just in hell. Following the scene, we get the most emotionally triggering moment of this entire series. Joel finally comes clean about what happened. And the way that he acknowledges what happened without words, I think even he understands that he may have taken it too far. And I think what I appreciate about his character is he really doesn't try to make excuses. Like there isn't really a right way to kill someone. Like, if you kill someone, you've killed someone. Like, he's not sitting here trying to rationalize or moralize. He's like, listen, I did what I did and I would do it again. And explain why the whole time we're crying with him. I mean, the idea of a cure, the show has pretty much established that a cure was possible. But the way that Joel is talking, like, I was trying to rationalize the whole thing. Like, okay, yeah, so what if a cure was possible? There's nothing in this world worth saving anyways. Like, the way that Joel can do no wrong is just, I think, an issue with the show itself. And Joel basically, he confesses, and I think his honesty is what enables Ellie to try and forgive him. It's not exactly what she wanted to hear, because Joel has never been the type of person to tell you what you want to hear. He just tells you what it is. And the reason he never tells the truth is because he knows that people can't handle the truth. Like, he just says things in a way that's quite cold and detached. And I think something I like about his character is that he's never pandered to anyone. Like, if you get it, you get it. You don't, you don't. He's not going to stress himself out. And this was kind of their moment of closure. And then the episode cuts away to modern day times and Ellie going back to the theater after killing Nora. And that's how the episode ends. So I think this episode for me, now that we've been away from Joel for some time, I am starting to see that maybe a lot of the issues we're having with Ellie actually have nothing to do with Ellie herself or her character. It has to do with the casting of the show in general. Because I just cannot for the life of me find any fault with this man. And I don't know if it's his face or what, but there's just no reason for us to be crying along with him. And so you guys let me know what you think, and until